I'm Michael Schoen, Chairman of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network's Board of Directors. It's absolutely my pleasure to welcome you to our annual convocation. I was asked to remind everybody, if you could be so kind as to turn off or turn down your cell phones. Something you didn't always have to worry about, but we do. This evening's program will include the recommissioning of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network's President and CEO, the renewal of commitment to spiritual care of all chaplains in attendance, as well as those hearing this by webcast, and importantly, the commissioning of 2 new clinical staff members. We will also recognize 3 healthcare chaplaincy staff members who have reached milestone service anniversaries. In addition, the Pioneer Medal for Outstanding Leadership in Healthcare will be awarded to 2 iconic figures in the areas of healthcare and chaplaincy, Dr. Richard Payne and Larry Vandercreek. Tonight, we are absolutely honored to be guests of Temple Emmanuel. As a multicultural and multi-faith organization, we've held this annual convocation event at a number of inspiring venues over the years, and we appreciate the gracious hospitality that our friends at these wonderful institutions have shown us. This is our 2nd convocation at Temple Emmanuel. Built in the late 1920s, this beautiful temple, and look around, this is absolutely amazing, is home to the largest congregation of Jewish worshipers in the world. We thank our friends at Temple Emmanuel for inviting us to use this special space. To start the evening off, I ask Rabbi Joshua Davidson of Temple Emmanuel to come forward and offer the invocation.
Makor Chaim Uvracha, source of life and a blessing. We ask your blessing on all of us gathered here who do your work in the world, the work of healing. As we know you are beside those for whom we care, so we pray that you are ever with us as our source of strength. And may we always be a source of strength to one another, so that we might do that work of healing, bringing wholeness to those who are suffering and to those they love, and so bring a bit of peace into this world. Amen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Davidson. Now I invite Reverend Eric J. Hall, President and CEO of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network, to introduce tonight's keynote speakers and recipients of the Pioneer Medal for Outstanding Leadership in Healthcare. Reverend Hall.
Thank you, Michael. 5 years ago, as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network, the Pioneer Medal for Outstanding Leadership in Healthcare was established. This evening, we are privileged to present the 2015 Pioneer Medal to Dr. Richard Payne and to Larry Vandercreek, both of whom you'll hear from shortly. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Payne to join me here. Dr. Richard Payne is Professor of Medicine and Divinity at Duke Divinity School. He is an internationally known expert in the areas of pain relief, care for those near death, oncology, and neurology. Previously, Dr. Payne was Chief of the Pain and Symptom Management Section, Department of Neurology at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. From 1998 to 2004, he led the Pain and Palliative Care Service at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. He is a past president of the American Pain Society. Dr. Payne received his degree in molecular biophysics from Yale University and his MD from Harvard. Dr. Payne will present the first of this evening's 2 keynote addresses. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Payne as I call upon Michael to please present the Pioneer Medal.
This is a magnificent, truly magnificent setting. Thank you very much, Reverend Hall. Thank you, HealthCare Chaplaincy. Thank you to all of my friends. I want to thank also George Hanzo, who I understand he's in Copenhagen, though, but I'm sure he'll hear me. And thank you all for granting me this amazing honor. I'm truly honored, truly flattered. I want to congratulate Larry Vandercreek for your trailblazing leadership in moving research and the profession of healthcare chaplaincy forward. Finally, I want to thank my friends and my family who have come here to help me celebrate the people who actually are the real stars of the evening, those who we will be commissioning as chaplains. For it is the real stars of the evening, the chaplains, who are really putting the soul in our healthcare system, and it is truly a magnificent thing. To quote Dickens, in the world of healthcare, these are truly the best of times, and some say the worst of times. These are challenging in healthcare times because it is a time of tremendous change. All stakeholders in our system, patients, doctors, nurses, payers, hospitals, health systems, are being challenged to expand expectations, to measure quality, and to demand accountability. Change of the pace and magnitude that we are experiencing is always unsettling, always unnerving, and in the word of my 2-year-old grandson, always scary. It's always scary. As we struggle to understand how to be good shepherds of the resource of healthcare, it seems that we sometimes overemphasize the need to be fiscally responsible and cost-effective. And the risk is that we transform these wonderful gifts of science and medicine and the gift of our calling to attend to human suffering as healthcare professionals. The risk is that we transform these gifts to mere commodities, to be exchanged and transacted at the best price and value. So it is in this sense that we can look at these as risky and scary times in healthcare. However, these are in many, many ways the best of times. Medicine as a profession is increasingly open to a greater diversity of men and women who are entering the profession. This is a good thing, indeed a great thing. More and more people of all socioeconomic classes and geographies have access to care in ways that were just not possible decades ago. And furthermore, we are perhaps, as I guess Malcolm Gladwell so famously emphasized, we are perhaps at a tipping point now in healthcare. With the passage of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and the increasing momentum to move from volume-based models to value-based models of reimbursement and systems of care, we are in fact offered a tremendous opportunity to not only make a business case for palliative care, a business case for the profession of chaplaincy even, but with an emphasis on outcomes and quality. Invariably, that makes this also possible for us to make the clinical case for palliative care. So this is a good thing. The Accountable Care Act, although clearly imperfect in many ways, does shine a light forward on a better way. However, we in the hospice and palliative care world cannot lose our way in these interesting times. Those of us who have had the privilege to practice palliative care have a passion to attend to pain and suffering because, as St. Augustine said, pain is the greatest evil. And as Albert Schweitzer once said, pain is a more terrible lord of mankind than even death itself. Many, if not most of us, have witnessed incalculable suffering and experienced the tremendous sense of professional fulfillment and gratification, knowing that we can and have made a difference for people who are suffering. However, in doing what we do, we must be mindful of holding on to the philosophy that underpinned both the hospice and palliative care movements from the beginning. It's not only about the competency in doing the medical aspects of palliative care, although this is very important. It is also about being present. It's also about witnessing. It's also about affirming. Changes in the way that we care for those who are seriously ill and dying that have been enabled by the palliative care movement, the Affordable Care Act, these changes must be patient-centric. That is, they must be based on the goals and values of the patient and to be respectful of cultural and religious beliefs. In our need to establish professional standards and performance-based competencies, we cannot allow hospice and palliative care to simply become a component of the business of healthcare delivery. One of my colleagues at Duke Divinity School, the eminent theologian Stanley Auerbach, once challenged me during a discussion that we were having about pain and suffering. His question to me was, by what authority do you, Richard Payne, relieve suffering in the seriously ill and dying? He was clearly challenging me to reflect on and to justify my professional goals and motivations as a palliative care physician. As I reflected on this, I came to the conclusion that my real authority to care for patients extended beyond my credentials and competencies in pain and symptom management, despite actually all the great things I had learned under the tutelage of Kathy Foley, Ray Hood, Charles and Reese, Gab Pasternak, Nessa Coyle, Mary Calloway, and Ada Rogers, some of whom are here in the room tonight. Despite all these great things I learned from them during my formative years here in New York City at Sloan Kettering, this certainly forms a basis for my, an authority to relieve pain and suffering. But just as importantly, I think, the real authority to attend to pain and suffering in our patients lies in our ability, indeed even our willingness and commitment, to form relationships and to be present in the journey, in the walking with the seriously ill. Our brethren, you in chaplaincy understand this better than most. You must remain committed to being truly present, to truly being in relationship with the sick and the suffering, even as the pressures inherent to the increasing professionalization of chaplaincy become more intense. Another colleague at Duke Divinity School, the late Alan Verhey, once said, "Dying without pain is important, and effective pain relief makes important contribution to the possibilities of dying well. But dying well and faithfully cannot and should not be reduced to a death without pain." Now, of course, here he is warning us about the risk of the so-called medicalization of suffering, a trap we can easily fall into in a world of cost accountability and cost effectiveness. But you, our colleagues in chaplaincy, are our best hope in helping us resist the medicalization of suffering and the commodification of hospice and palliative care. You provide the soul for our goal, to attend to pain and suffering. Let's not fall into the trap of making the growing professionalism of chaplaincy, as important as that is, and the growing professionalism of palliative care, as important as that is. Let's not fall into the trap that we break community with the seriously ill and dying. So, congratulations to the newly commissioned chaplains. Continue to be the soul in our goals as we attend to pain and suffering in our fellow brothers and sisters. And thank you so much for this honor.
Richard, thank you so much for your thought-provoking words and for your support of our mission and of our work. I'd now like to invite Larry Vanderkreek to please come up to receive the Pioneer Medal. Larry Vanderkreek is an alumni of ours, having served as Director of Research at HealthCare Chaplaincy from 1998 to 2001. He was the editor of the Journal of HealthCare Chaplaincy for 7 years and is the author of numerous books and journal articles on subjects that include measuring the spiritual needs of hospital patients and their families, as well as suicide bereavement. Larry served at the Ohio State University Medical Center as clinical associate professor in the Department of Family Medicine and as clinical associate professor in the Department of Neurology. He was the 2001 recipient of the coveted Anton Boyson Professional Service Award from the Association of Professional Chaplains. Please join me in welcoming Larry Vanderkreek as I again ask Michael to please present him with the honor.
Good evening. Thanks for this award. It validates my contribution, my work in the chaplaincy areas. I'm going to talk a little bit about research and chaplaincy research. You really can't have me talking to a group of chaplains without talking about spiritual care research, since that is what I devoted my life to. When I was a hospital chaplain, like most of you, I always felt on the outside of the clear calling of the institutions that we were chaplains in. We were outside of medicine, outside of nursing. We were on the outside, and often the recipient of crumbs that fell from the master's table. I was determined to get inside medicine as a clergy person, to get inside medicine and see what that was like. Through a variety of circumstances that I don't want now to labor you on with, it turns out that I became available for a new position just as family medicine was being accredited and certified as a discipline. And I got myself hired as a faculty member at Ohio State University College of Medicine in family practice. That was with the understanding that I would be their behavioral scientist. Family medicine is distinguished in its emphasis, its emphasis in having behavioral and psychological and social attention given to residents and medical students and training them in the sciences. Through another variety of circumstances, I found myself beginning to be interested in research and found through the years that personality-wise I fit the research endeavor. Attention to detail, always wanting to know more about what was really going on. I don't think in those days I was a very good chaplain. I'm not one to follow simply in tradition. I wanted to know more. And pastoral research became that avenue for knowing more. somewhere along the line, the editor of the Journal of Pastoral Care and Counseling invited me to do a book on current research in pastoral care. We tried to do the book on research in pastoral care and soon discovered there wasn't any. There were a few doctoral dissertations that dealt with spiritual care and hospitalization, spiritual care and pastoral care. But we ended up in the book putting in other people's research that seemed vaguely relevant to chaplaincy. So 2 or 3 projects a year from that point on. We've published approximately 100 articles that study patients in the hospital, and in studying patients in the hospital, writing, editing, publishing those reports. So the research that I've done is an example, as a testament to the kind of role that research can play in spiritual care. Now, it used to be, and you may remember the days, when one could be a chaplain in a hospital, a clergy in a hospital, and nobody paid much attention because there was this underlying sense of, well, if they want to do this ministry, that's fine. They probably don't do any harm. That mantra is long gone. And we're now in the throes of show me your data. Show me how you make a difference. If you expect us to pay you, we expect you to make a difference. And so, the Templeton grant that has to do with research literacy is of the utmost importance, because only as chaplains understand research, not necessarily doing it, but understanding it, and can read a research article and make sense of it, that is one of the paths toward demonstrating that we make a difference. That same invitation to learn to do research, however, I want you to know is fraught with difficulty. It's a different world in the research world than in the chaplaincy world. And the world is half full of chaplains who make it known that they expect research to answer, pastoral research to answer the question that's on the minds of everybody. We expect, the chaplain says, that you researchers will demonstrate that pastoral care, spiritual care, makes a difference, and makes that difference in a way that is proven. So the mission becomes to prove that spiritual care makes a difference in numbers, and thereby is a fatal flaw. Because we will never produce the kind of research that medicine has produced that nursing has produced, the kind of research that's quantitative, hard science, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. Can't you just see it now? Double-blind, placebo-controlled research design on spirituality making a difference. How are you ever going to study that? How are you ever going to do a double-blind study on prayer? You know, that was attempted in the 2000s with all these studies that were done, and that we're going to see if prayer made a difference in the lives of patients. The research design was this double-blind, placebo-controlled. Well, they had trouble with the placebo control because you can't ever demonstrate that somebody's not prayed for. So one of the things that I want you to understand from me tonight is that I am gangbusters on research, but I see its limitations. And we are setting ourselves up for disillusionment and embitterment unless we understand what research can do for us and what it can never do for us. The quantitative research of numbers can only go so far as to describe how prayer makes a difference, rather than trying to demonstrate in hard numbers that it really does. Qualitative research is going to be more our friend in the long run than quantitative research. So in this era in which we probably can't do our ministries in settings just because we probably don't do any harm, we're called on to demonstrate that we do really make a difference. And that I am happy to have had a part in. And I thank you very much for this award. Thank you.
Larry, again, thank you so much for your insight. Healthcare professionals, including chaplains, are often referred to as angels by the tearful patients and weary caregivers to whom they minister. Tonight, we recognize the tireless work you do when selflessly walking with others through the worst moments of their lives, remaining present in the midst of uncertainty, and serving as guardians of hope. It is in that spirit that we offer the song, Calling All Angels, sung by Jade from my own congregation.
How long and how far and how many times? Oh.
Thank you, Jade. That was lovely. With great pleasure, my fellow board members and I now recommission Reverend Eric J. Hall into the Healthcare Chaplaincy Network community. Will the board members please stand, extend hands, and pray with me? It's the lower of the two prayers in the program. We extend our hands together, representing many faith groups and denominations. We also represent all God's people as we install you to your new ministries with HealthCare Chaplaincy Network. We charge you to treat every person as a child of God, worthy of dignity and respect. We charge you to perform your ministry with skill and wisdom, always tempered by compassion. We charge you to continue to grow in your abilities, using the resources of your peers and your colleagues for guidance and support. We charge you to care for yourself, remain healthy in body, mind, and spirit. We now install you to your ministry of chaplaincy care and ask God's continued blessing on you. Amen.
Thank you, Michael, and members of the board. I'd now like to ask all chaplains in the audience to please stand for our ceremony of renewal of commitment to spiritual care. And at this time, I would simply like to welcome those who have been participating by webcast. Throughout the course of the week, we've received emails and communications from chaplains really all over the world who are participating this very night with us in a sign of solidarity. Professional chaplains are the specialists on the healthcare team who help people, regardless of their faith traditions or beliefs, to identify and draw upon their unique spiritual strength and to find meaning, to find comfort. They play significant roles as members of the interdisciplinary healthcare teams, contribute to improving patient experiences, and help our partner hospitals meet their business and service goals. We are deeply proud of all of your accomplishments. I invite you to join with me in a communal prayer of recommitment. The words are found in your program. Together, I do solemnly affirm by the Spirit of life that as a professional chaplain, I will respect the religious and spiritual traditions of my patients, colleagues, as well as my own, and that I will lead my life and practice the art and science of spiritual care in an honorable and ethical manner, that into whatsoever circumstances I enter, it shall be for the well-being of the people entrusted to my care, that I will respect the confidentiality of those who put their trust in me, that I will affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all, that I will promote peace among all peoples, valuing our different gifts and celebrating our common origins. May God grant us the strength and inspiration to continue in this noble service. Amen. Please be seated. I would now ask our newest chaplains, Reverend Tenku Roof and Rabbi Maurice Applebaum, to please come before us to be commissioned, along with their denominational representatives, Enkio O'Hara and Dr. Michelle Friedman. If you'd please come and stand in the center of the sanctuary. Enkio O'Hara is abbot of Village Zendo, and Dr. Michelle Friedman is chair of pastoral counseling at YCT Rabbinical School. Reverend Tenku Roof serves as NYU Langone Medical Center in chaplaincy services and palliative care. She is an ordained Zen Buddhist priest and a member of American Zen Teachers Association. She tells the story of a Zen master who conducts the funeral of a young man. The man's mother asked the Zen master, "What is the meaning of my son's death?" Unsatisfied with the answer, the woman withdraws her support for the monk and his temple. The monk is so affected by this that he leaves his temple and spends the next 20 years in deep meditation contemplating the question. Unanswerable questions are what most inspire Tenku as a chaplain, forcing her to look more deeply into her own spiritual practice, and in this way, her patients are her teachers. Rabbi Maurice Applebaum is an Orthodox rabbi ordained by YCT Rabbinical School. He is an ACPE Associate Supervisor and Board Certified Chaplain. Maurice currently teaches clinical pastoral education at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and serves as a coordinator of chaplaincy and education at HealthCare Chaplaincy Network. He is the rabbi of a congregation, Avayas Israel, a synagogue in Greenport, Brooklyn, where he lives with his wife, Rebecca, and their 3 children. I invite everyone to join now in the communal prayer of commissioning for Tenku and Maurice. That prayer is also found in your program. Together, in the name of God and of this assembly, we commission you, Reverend Tenku Roof and Rabbi Maurice Applebaum, as chaplains of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network. We extend our hands together, representing many faith groups and denominations. We also represent all of God's people as we install you to leadership and ministry of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network. We charge you to treat every person as a child of God, worthy of dignity and respect. We charge you to perform your ministry with skill and wisdom, always tempered by compassion. We charge you to continue to grow in your abilities, using the resources of your staff and your colleagues for guidance and support. We charge you to care for yourself, remaining healthy in spirit. We now install you in ministry. And we here gathered say, Amen. And so each year, in conjunction with the commissioning of chaplains, we pause to celebrate milestone service anniversaries of our staff. This evening, we acknowledge 3 staffers who have been with us from 10 to 30 years. I begin by inviting Sister Elaine Goodell to join me here in the sanctuary. While there is clearly a difference in size between us, there is no difference in stature. For Sister Elaine, working for HealthCare Chaplaincy Network at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center is a 4th career. She's been a nurse, a convent-based nun, and a music professor. She started as a chaplain at an age when most people are thinking about retirement, and she's been at it for 30 years. Sister Elaine has touched thousands of lives at Memorial Sloan Kettering, not only patients, but doctors and nurses who are sometimes overwhelmed by the solemnity of their work. We mark our lives by ceremonies, and we at HealthCare Chaplaincy are pleased to mark this day with appreciation for your 30 years of extraordinary service. I invite our first 10-year awardee of the evening, Edward Herron, to come on stage. Ed is our Vice President of Human Resources and Administration. When he came to us in 2005, we had a combined staff of about 75 people. Ed had just come from Southampton and Eastern Long Island hospitals with more than 1,000 employees. So he must have thought this was going to be a piece of cake. Little did he know. Ed also changed our thinking. Now, we can't imagine how we got along without him. He handles our recruitment, insurance, and everything else connected with humans and resources. Personally, since my arrival, Ed has been an enormous support, a confidant, and someone who has been able to guide and direct throughout my 2 years here, and I'm very grateful. Ed, we thank you for watching over us and for your dedicated service to our mission for these 10 years. I now invite our other 10-year awardee, Reverend Yoon Jo Kim, to please join me. Reverend Kim is our staff chaplain at the New York Hospital, Queens. She received her Master's of Theology and Master's of Divinity degrees from Princeton Theological Seminary and a BA in Music Theory from Cornell. She also plays the piano, guitar, and Korean drums. So I think next year we'll probably just use you for music. Reverend Kim is very active in Korean American affairs. She's the English ministry pastor at Yale Korean Presbyterian in New York, where she serves as liaison between the first-generation Korean-speaking congregation and the English-speaking second-generation members. She's an invaluable resource for offering spiritual care to the Korean patients, as well as patients of all other ethnicities at New York Hospital, Queens. We're incredibly grateful for her 10 years of outstanding service to HealthCare Chaplaincy Network. So we thank all of you for all your sincerity, for your service to HealthCare Chaplaincy Network, and for caring for the human spirit. We'd also like to thank our pianist, Billy White, and our singer, Jade Holmes. Thank you for your inspiring music. And now, on behalf of HealthCare Chaplaincy Network's Board of Directors, I cordially invite everyone to join us at a reception in the Isaac Meyer Wise Hall on the lower level. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good night. God bless.